to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my head down if I won. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Doesn't sound like fun. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better, so much better. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. I want to be silly, baby, dance the night away. I'll kick my shoes off if I want. Let yourself be free and maybe you will find that there is more to life than being pretty. Honey, let's just face it. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better, so much better. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws.
virtual DIY summit will start in 10 minutes.
Feathers in my hair and braids around my waist. I'm almost a bird. These mountain views and pink sunsets got me shedding skin. Ooh, we all strive to be more. We all long for viva la vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya.
The first virtual DIY summit will start in 5 minutes.
And the air fills up my lungs and it tickles. Oh, what a joyful feeling. I think I'm gonna stay here under all these rays and soak up the sun. Ooh, we long for Viva la Vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya, a bit lighter and freer. I'm so happy to see ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now please welcome our presenter, John W. Herbert.
Hello and welcome to the virtual Global DIY Summit 2021. My name is John Herbert and I'm the General Secretary of EDRA, the European DIY Retail Association, and of GIN, the Global Home Improvement Network. I would like to welcome all our friends from all over the world, wherever you may be, our EDRA GIN members, the members of our partner association, HEMA, and to the sponsors and the delegates who have come to watch this Global Summit today and tomorrow. Well, we were all going to meet, as you know, in Copenhagen this year, but due to the pandemic, we had to postpone it. Last year, we were going to meet in Amsterdam, but it was postponed because of the global 19 pandemic. But the good news is that we are very confident that next year we will have a cracking DIY Global Summit where we're all together again in Copenhagen. But the very good news is that we've got an excellent program with excellent speakers from all over the world. And we'll be addressing major topics that are affecting humanity and who are affecting our industry today. We'll be talking about climate change, sustainable economy. We'll be talking about the future home, the future of home improvement, following the real power in sales increase of online sales. We'll be talking about the importance of big data. We'll be talking about how important it is for retailers and suppliers to come together to solve the problems that we have to solve for tomorrow. We shall also be talking about customer experience. And finally, we'll be hearing an on-count report of the phenomenal success of the Home Depot in the early days. So I think we've put together a very inspiring program, and I do hope you find these next 2 days, 2.5 days 2 days with 2.5-hour bursts of full entertainment and full of knowledge, we believe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is tradition. We always start with our presidents. So may I welcome to the stage the president of Origin, Sergio Giroldi, who is the group CEO of OBI, and also Rainer Wolf, who is the president of the International HEMA, the Home Improvement Manufacturers Association. Thank you. Okay, Mr. President, please come on the stage. Thank you.
And now, President's Welcome with Sergio Giroldi, President of IDRA Gin, CEO of OBI, and Reinhard Wolf, President of HEMA, Managing Partner of Wolfkraft.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. For some of you is very early in the morning, for others very late in the evening, and therefore a very special warm welcome to all of you attending this first DIY Virtual Global Summit. It's the first time that, as I normally say, we meet around the screen and not normally, as we were doing in the past, within a room. You might believe that is not an ideal solution, but I think that after last year not meeting each other, it was really time to come again together, if not to see each other, but at least to talk each other and to exchange, to restart exchanging idea on our future development. And thanks, by the way, for being so many around the screen today. I was told there are more than 1,000 participants to this 2 days event. And this, from my point of view, clearly tells you about the relevance, the importance that this Congress has gained within the branch, growing year after year. I still remember when, roughly, I guess, 15 years ago, we met first time in Vienna, few people within a room, and today, thousands of participants. And let's first me express a wish. Let's hope that next year, we can meet again in presence, in person, to see each other, to shake hands, and to openly talk about our branch. But at the same time, I think that this period was giving us the possibility to learn a lesson on top of what we knew before. And the lesson is that also meeting around the screen can be an opportunity for the future in order to increase the number of meeting points within our branch, because business is becoming more complex. Sharing, as I say, is caring, and therefore I think that meeting each other, exchanging ideas, thinking about innovation would be a great help for each one of us. Let's therefore use this opportunity of meeting again more often than in the past. Again, thanks for being so many around, which is again the final proof that this is year after year the event of DIY modern retailing of the globe. And I all the time try to give an explanation to that. And for me, the explanation is always the same. I strongly believe that what we all together, we appreciate, we recognize, is the value of this close collaboration among retailers and manufacturers. Together, I'm here with my colleague Reinhard in order then to prove and to underline again that we attribute great value to this collaboration. Our world is becoming more and more complex. Today, we are asked by our customers not only to sell goods to them. We are asked to provide solutions. We are asked then to understand their wish and their needs and to translate that into a charming offer. Therefore, the world of retailing is becoming more and more complex, and we are, as I said, asked to develop our business model. And the best way to do it is then to do it together, manufacturer and retailer and manufacturer, in exchange of experience, in exchange of knowledge, which then contribute to the success of both parties. The pandemic was clearly confirming that DIY modern retailing is an essential part of people's life, is an essential part in contributing to improve people's quality of life. Let's continue working on that in order not only to make regulators, governments, permanently to recognize that, but also then to make people more and more being fan lovers of what we can offer to them in terms of quality of life improvement. Thank you very much for listening. Please enjoy the day, but please make use of those days. Rainer.
Sergio, it's great to meet you again. After so many times we met on TV, see you in person. I'm happy that after 27 months we have the chance to see each other, to meet on this virtual Congress and exchange information about our market. This 27 months, the late 18th month of Corona really changed the world, changed the DIY market. We were faced with very extreme situation challenges. It started with disruption of supply chain last year in January. Then the lockdown of DIY stores all over Europe. Then the adaptation for each company to the new hygienic standards for the office, for the production facilities, for the logistics centers. Again, store opened in May, with an explosion of sales, which of course for manufacturers resulted in a drop in the delivery rate. Now this year, since January, we have a situation where the manufacturing cost exploded, raw material went through the roof, transport cost went through the roof. So this is a lot of challenges for the whole industry, for the whole market to work with. But, and I think that was Sergio already mentioned, the DIY market has proven to be an important part for the end consumer. I think we go out of this crisis much stronger than we entered into it. And that, I think, is very positive news. The other important development was the digitalization of the whole market. We were forced to. Offices were now much more digital. We have virtual conferences like today. And of course, the retailers started to invest heavily into e-commerce, which I think is very good news too for the whole market. So we have a dramatic situation, but we have huge opportunities for the whole market to go for. Like Sergio said, together it is possible to have a very good development in the future, profiting from the situation we all lived through in the last month. So Sergio, today it's a virtual conference, but in 1 year it will be in Copenhagen. And I think this is then where we all can meet in person. You have seen that John opened this conference in his eloquent manner like all the years. But where is Ralph? Ralph had a severe accident with his bike in May. That's when you don't drive cars and start biking. He spent over 6 weeks in hospital and still is recovering from it. But today He is here to say hello to you.
So, thank you very much to all of you for being together on the screen, and see you in Copenhagen.
Time is so little, little by little, day by day, I'm caught in the middle of a spinning wheel where all I feel is the ice getting thinner. Step by step, day by day, I'm fighting a winner. Pushed around, I'm nowhere bound, no solid ground. How can I get it back? How can I be strong? And all I do comes out old. I wanna be a saint, but I ain't. I'm far from. I wanna be brave. I wanna stand tall.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mr. President, for this warm welcome to the summit. And yeah, I'm very sad because I've always moderated these last 10 years with my colleague Ralph Ramada. But as you heard, he fell off his bike. You're going to see him now. You think he's got his baby, but unfortunately it's not. So, Ralph, welcome, and so very sorry you're not taking part in this summit.
Yeah, thank you, John, and welcome to everybody here at the first virtual conference. I'm happy that I have the possibility to stay here with my let's say with my back. I have to use it all day and night during the last 6 weeks, and but I hope I will be better in the next few days, and that I have the opportunity to say also goodbye to all of you, because it will be my last session officially. I will go to retirement end of October this year. But I got an invitation for next year to be in Copenhagen and then to say goodbye to you all on the real stage and not only on virtual stage. I wish you a very comfortable and exciting days here in, let's say, we are in Cologne, but we are all over the world, and see you in Copenhagen. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, Ralph, we're very, very sorry to see you go, because you played such a major part in the success of this Global DIY Summit. You were always, in Germany, we say the ruhige Pol, the quiet one who kept the finances, kept everything ticking over. And I think, if anything, your work has sometimes been underestimated. You've been a valuable part of ours. We're delighted that you're coming to Copenhagen next year and you're bringing your wife, so you've got the opportunity to say goodbye to all the people who you've known through all these years with our most successful Global DIY Summit. So, gute Besserung, as they say in Germany, get better, and hope you soon recover to health. We won't say any more because we're going to see each other in Copenhagen next year.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I stay here. No. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me all right, because we've just come off the press in the last 2 or 3 days, the last year of our Global DIY report. You'll see that the total sales of our industry throughout the world is 702 billion euros. So we're quite a force in the marketplace. This is the development of the DIY market in the last years, from 2015 going up to last year. You see always a steady increase, but last year, what a boom in 2020, an amazing increase from 617 billion to 702. This is a result of us being essential retail and being open during the pandemic. Most of us anyway, not all. But we should be working as an association to really drive home that we are essential retailing in future. So how big are the markets? Well, the North American market dominates it as ever. 425 billion. This is followed by Europe with 189 billion sales, followed by Asia with 66 billion sales, Africa and Middle East increasing regularly now 12 billion, and Latin America 10 billion. So this is the market as it is today. But just look at the comparable sales, like for like, not like for like, but the market compared to the previous years. So 3.5% in 2015, a little bit more, 4.2, then 2.3 in 2000, 2.5 in 2018, 4% in 2019, and a whopping 13.8% sales increase in home improvement retailing throughout the world in 2020. So what a boom, and we're delighted. And what are the top 10 groups worldwide? First of all, the amazing success of Home Depot, 115 billion, Lowe's, 78 billion, Addio, 22 billion, Kingfisher, 14 billion, Maynard's, 11.5, Bunnings, 9.1, Obi, 7.4, and Ace Hardware, 6.8, and Bauhaus, 6.2, and Sodimac in Chile with 4.7 billion. So these are the groups that we have today for what has really been a very, very successful 2020. The DIY Global Report will be published, we hope, in October, and then you'll be able to get a copy of this report from around the world. So, yeah, thank you very much indeed for looking at these figures.
And now, The Future Home with Tim Kahua, Head of Global Consumer Appliances Research, Euromonitor.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is late afternoon in Singapore, and with us today we have a speaker who is going to talk about the future home. It is Tim Chua. He is head of the Global Consumer Appliances Research at the Euromonitor. Euromonitor is the world's leading provider of global intelligence with 15 offices from around the world. The home has changed, and I read something Tim wrote, our relationship with the home has been fundamentally changed since the pandemic. To tell us how he, with all his research in such an established company, see the future home, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Tim Chua.
Thank you, John. And thank you to the DIY Summit for inviting me to this summit, which I'm really happy to see the performance that the community has done over the last year. And I think the findings from our study does show that DIY does have a very good projection for the next 5 years. And because of hygiene, because of the worries about having someone coming to your home, DIY does have a very good, strong driver for growth in the very long, medium to long term. So thank you for inviting me again. I'm happy to share the findings I have today, and I'll start sharing screen right now. Okay. So I'll present a bit on the future home today. Just our idea on what we think the future home will look like, especially through the lens of what's happened over the last year and a half. I'm Tim. John has kindly made a very good introduction of me and the company. My focus is CAP, or Consumer Appliances, in Euromonitor. But on this study, I will look a bit more holistically on what we see for the future home. And this is mainly because my research interests are smart homes, future homes, and obviously the business model innovation around it. Today's session is a quick 3 points around the future home. We want to look at and help you understand what has changed in terms of the vision of a future home because of the pandemic. So we'll look through the lens of the impact. Next, we'll look at some of the important aspects of a future home that we see in the medium to long term. And lastly, what are the opportunities for the DIY market and the community because of all these changes? We know the pandemic has changed our life quite drastically, and I'm happy to see that it has helped encourage a lot of DIY hobbyists and people to improve their homes. So we looked at Google's mobility data last year, and it showed that a lot of us spend more than 30 to 40% of our time at home. So in this presentation, we want to see how this has affected our perception towards our home. So how has this affected our vision and relationship to the home? How has this affected our spending? And I think more importantly for today is how does this affect the DIY market? And the next few slides, I'll try and give you some ideas on what we think. So our relationship with the home has definitely changed. We now look at our home in terms of it being a hygienic sanctuary. So you stay in your home, hopefully the virus doesn't come, and it's your hygiene sanctuary that protects you from what's happening outside. Because we are home so much, we want to do a lot more things at home. So versatility of the living home or the living space will be crucial for us. Because we are home so much, our carbon footprint has been increasing. We use the air conditioners a lot more, lighting, we cook a lot more at home. So how does a consumer like us reduce our carbon footprint? And lastly, as we age, we are so comfortable with being at home. We want to be at home. And so how does this term called aging in place become common? And this concept is also becoming very much preferred by a lot of us. We first look at some of the 4 medium-term drivers for the future home. And I'll try and relate this to how this impacts the DIY market. Number 1 is greater than 90% of the homes will need to be modified. So I'll go into detail about what does the future home involve. And from there, you understand that the future home will need to be modified a lot to cater to some of the technologies, to cater to some of the aspects of helping you be comfortable in your own home in the future. So we looked at the statistics, and it looks like there will be 1% of new homes over the next 20 years, and the remaining will be 99% will be old stock, which will need to be modified to cater to the future home aspects we'll see later. And the other point I would like to highlight is that the growth in future or the growth in households will continue to outstrip population growth. So although we do see that in quite a lot of countries, especially the developed ones, where the DIY market is very, very much growing, although population growth might be slowing down, the number of households are still increasing and at a faster rate than population growth. Our close relationship with the home has not ended. A lot of us thought that maybe by mid of this year, we would have been over the hill and just be back to our normal lives. But we've seen resurgence in the different variants of the pandemic, and we've now, from Delta, we've gone to the Mu wave. So globally, we've seen cases go back to close to the midpoint of the second wave, and I think countries that were previously unaffected have now seen a very much high resurgence of cases. So instead of 2021, we think, and likely based on projections from WHO and companies that track this, our relationship or close relationship with the home could, or most probably will last until 2022 and hopefully not 2023, but because I think I would like to be able to attend your conference next year in Copenhagen. We also see how our habits have changed. What is interesting is that when the pandemic happened, none of us really thought this would be a long-term challenge. But having been at home for so long, our habits have changed. 53% of consumers work from home at least once a week. 48% of consumers study at home once a week. And more interestingly is that 31% of the consumers we surveyed entertain friends and family at home at least once a week. We do a lot more at home right now. That's the reason why a lot of people want multifunctional homes. And some of the leisure activities that we do a lot more at home is exercising, playing video games. And the third one is home hobbies. I think this directly relates to what we'll talk about in the next slide. So with time at home, consumers are finding different ways to fill this time. And one of them is the homebound hobby effect. In many countries, because of hygiene, they've looked at doing everything at home themselves as a kind of a way to help protect their hygiene bubble. So the homebound hobby effect is interesting and will be a long-lasting effect, mainly because if a consumer buys a drill, he's likely to want to continue using it for the next 5 to 10 years. And in countries where for example, Singapore, where we used to get outside help, this might change to a more DIY home improvement model. As we spend more time at home, our surveys have shown that conversely, people think that they have less time to do things at home. So they are looking at automation to save time. And relating to the point we mentioned earlier and the current point, which is hygienic sanctuary, a lot of them want to do this at home because getting a stranger into your home during this pandemic times is a huge risk, and one that I think quite a lot of us are not willing to risk. And even if I think some of us are able or willing to accept the risk of having someone come in to fix up your home, I understand that it's now very costly to hire someone. Even if you are willing to pay, it's very difficult to get someone. I was talking to my colleague in the UK, and he was saying that for something he wants to do at home, the only available slot is November 2022. So 1 year and 3 months away. So a lot of this are the driving factors we see behind the DIY market's growth in the next few years. We also see it in terms of the global population aging. We are going to see quite a bit of population age 65 and above in 2040. And because of what has happened over in the nursing homes or elderly homes over during the course of the pandemic, a lot of the elderly have seen being at home as a safer option, mainly because of hygiene and what could happen. So this trend of living alone or living at home is not new. We looked at a UN survey that looked at the number of people living alone or the percentage of people living alone over the last 10 to 15 years. And it shows that in Western countries like Europe, North America, quite a significant percentage of the 65 and above do already live at home. So this, if you look at the chart, will be the people or the countries in dark red you see here. We want to take the US as an example because as John showed earlier, the DIY market in the US is the biggest among the other countries in the world. And this is important because in the US, the population of people aged 65 and above will be 79 million in 2040. And what is interesting from a survey, and it shows that by 2040, the number of households with 65 and above who are the head of the household will be 45%. And if you look at the chart on the right, the majority of the spending that they will be doing will be on housing. We understand from our survey that quite a proportion of this will be on mortgage and loans. but the remaining percentage will then be on home improvement and home upgradation. So this shows a lot of opportunity for the DIY market. Again, we want to show this chart because it's important to know why aging in place is so interesting. Because we looked at the numbers from the Federal Reserve in the US, and it shows that the baby boomers are the richest generation in history. So they have the combined wealth of all the other categories and twice of that. So their net worth is 35 trillion in 2021, a number you can see here. And studies have shown that they are increasingly receptive to aging in place. And the keywords we'll talk about later is home-based healthcare and the companion home. So what does this mean for you, the DIY market, and how does this affect the future home? We look at some of the key aspects of the future home here. We have 8 aspects here. We'll go into each of this in detail in the next few slides. But some of the obvious ones you've seen here, as well as the not so obvious ones. So the obvious ones we've looked at, or we have already looked at in the past, are if you look at connectivity, this is how the homes are connected internally and externally. We have automation, automating the house. Then you look at sustainability. It's a very much ongoing topic, but there are permutations and changes to this because of what has happened over the last year and a half. We then have also health. So how do you keep healthy at home? But then you have the other 4, which we think are emerging. Hygiene, definitely something we need to look at. Then we have time. You are spending more time at home. Are you willing to spend it on housework? How do you make your life more convenient? Then you have space. You want your house to be more multifunctional, like the survey showed earlier. And lastly, supportive care. So this is a concept that's very, very new. We'll go into it in more detail in the later slide. So we start with connectivity and your main building block, which is your smart home with the smart home platform as a foundation. So what is interesting about this is that you'll see many different consumer systems here. So these are systems with specific purposes like laundry, kitchen, and it's so important that we are going into detail on the next slide. But on this slide, I think it's suffice to see that there will be multiple consumer systems here. And for each consumer system, you have bots, which we classify as appliances, devices, or anything that helps the consumer system function. So homes will be connected within through a smart home platform. It will also be connected to a smart city. So this is where you will have your utilities, public services, and security. And your homes will also be connected to companies. So this is an aspect that has happened quite recently. I think a lot of us, or most of us, might be uncomfortable sharing too much data. But this is a fact that we are increasingly exchanging data with private companies. In the past, it was a one-way download of data from companies. But right now, through sensors, AI, our data is getting aggregated and sent to companies. But the silver lining is that if regulations and privacy rules are in place, we do get quite a lot of value-added data or value-added services because of this data. We next look at automation. So the goal of an automation will be to how do you help ease the burden of housekeeping, and also how do you save money and reducing your carbon footprint while at home. There are 6 aspects of the consumer systems that we see here. Again, a lot of this are pretty obvious, but what will be interesting in the future, and this plays into our whole aging in place, is the health and care. So this is a part where we see a lot of potential. And to relate this to the DIY market is that a lot of the systems you see here are not already in place. There will be a need to modify your home to insert sensors, to make it smart. And there will be a lot of tools and accessories needed to make this happen. We look at hygiene. So hygiene is a trend that, again, not many of us or have really thought about it before the advent of last year. And the current trend has been a lot of your traditional technologies like filtration, UV, ionization. In the future, I think what is relevant to today's discussion is that how do you get hygiene design into homes? How do you make hygiene and automation? I think then a lot of homes will then look at also self-cleaning surfaces and automated robots. So a lot of these aspects of hygiene will also need to be installed and modified in the home. And again, this presents opportunities for the audience here. So ultimately, we are then looking at how do you move from traditional hygiene to emerging hygiene, and how do you look at it in terms of a holistic home where the home becomes your hygienic sanctuary. We look at sustainability. A lot of it relates to what we've been looking at in the past. The two emerging ones we are seeing over the last 5 years is food waste. How do you reduce food waste in the home? But what we think is relevant to today's discussion then is modularity and repair. So this is a concept that was really pushed by the EU, the Eco Design Directive. And a lot of it involves how do you empower consumers to fix their own fridge, fix their own appliance or their own device with parts they can buy off the shelf or even direct from manufacturers. So the right to repair is a movement that we see with huge momentum. We next see time. So time is where it's a slightly harder concept to grasp, but a good way to look at it is in terms of automation. A survey we did is that consumers are spending more time at home. But the contradiction we see in the survey is that although people are spending more time at home, they feel that they have less time to do things at home. So the takeaway from this is that consumers have more time at home, and a lot of the time they are using to spend on DIY, their own hobbies, things that they would like to do more rather than something that they feel as a chore like housework. Space. Space is interesting because it's a concept that has been happening because of urbanization. But with the slight trend in the urbanization last year, we think that this is a temporary blip. People are still want to be able to do more at home. I put up this example here from Ori Furniture because I think it kind of gives us a better idea on the transformable furniture concept. People want to be able to do more things with the same kind of furniture. I think the Marie Kondo concept really brought this to everybody's awareness. The concept of access over ownership will be interesting in the future as well. We look at health. Health is interesting because traditionally a lot of us has thought about health in terms of physical health. In the future, while a lot of people have, or in the past when we were locked down, I think mental health was something that really came into focus. And mental health is interesting because mental health involves modifying the home through DIY for natural light, mood lighting, ambient sounds. And we think this presents a good opportunity for the DIY market. So in the future, we look at the home as a health hub, and it will help, and the home will help you stay positive physically as well as mentally. Lastly, we look at supportive care. So this is a pretty new concept, and it looks at the home design that supports you throughout your life course. So from when you're born to when you get older. It looks at designs that help you recover and heal from some of the ailments that you might face. And what is interesting is because studies have shown that patients that have the ability to recuperate at home have a 20% lower mortality rate than a patient that recovers in hospital. So we see the different stages of the future home at home, the future home design. And I think lastly, we look at aging in place. So the future home will have to be many things to us. We start off home as a sanctuary. We discussed this earlier. Aging in place and the companion home. So this supports the whole concept about being born and growing old in your own home. We looked at automation. We looked at sustainability. And lastly, we look at time and space. So I'd like to bring your attention to, again, why we are bringing up this concept, which is the way forward. So the way forward is interesting, and I want to bring up 3 statistics that we think should be just repeated. There are the Americans who are 70 years and above are really, really high net worth. They have 35 trillion in net assets. Spending on personal and domestic robots have increased almost 23% over the last 5 years. Over the next 5 years, and we see that to get the future home realized, there are many, many different challenges to overcome. I think the most important one is what we see as self-interest. Can companies collaborate together? And also privacy, because the whole concept of our future home is about data. How do we sort out this privacy regulations will be very important. So what are the winning strategies? We'll need to look at what has been discarded before the pandemic and see whether this makes sense or not. Future home economics, you see here, is also very interesting because it's more than profit and loss. It will be looking at subscribers, consumer value, and sustainability. And collaboration will also be very important. And lastly, on the last slide I have here is what does this mean for the DIY market companies? And I'm bringing this slide here again that I talked about earlier, which is the amount of spending on housing will be significant in 20 years' time. And a lot of the features that we looked at in terms of the future home will require modifications of existing homes because people are more comfortable doing it at home or themselves over the last year, 2 years. A lot of this will continue. Once habits are formed, it will probably continue, even though circumstances have changed. And this hopefully will probably result in higher demand for DIY tools. So I think the DIY market has a very good potential in the future. Very good growth last year, and we see this continuing into quite the medium to long term. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I will stop sharing.
First of all, thank you very much for this excellent presentation and for sharing your knowledge and sharing your research with us. We found that very, very interesting indeed. And, you know, looking at it, it's very optimistic. It looks as if the home improvement sales increases that we've seen since 2015 are going to continue for quite a while. It's going to be above average. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, because again, labor will be really hard to find, especially. I'll give you my perspective from Singapore. A lot of our labor comes from Malaysia. With the borders closed, a lot of the tradesmen who are coming from Malaysia are unable to come in. Costs are high. People just decided to do it at home. And once they are able to do it, they just want to continue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We have questions from the audience, and I've got a question here, very simple one. Is there one particular area of the home that you see as offering a lot of potential in the future for retailers and suppliers?
Oh, that's interesting. For retailers and suppliers, I guess the simple things about being able to do things at home will be interesting. For example, I think the biggest challenge for consumer buying things online is I'm not familiar with this. How do I find a product that suits my needs? So I think education, helping consumers make the decision will be really helpful for retailers if they want to buy a tool that they've never used before.
Okay. We've seen you talking about the global trends in contemporary society, or are there still distinctions in trends in the homes from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia? Do you see different trends in different countries, or is it fairly as you've told us today?
I think it's fairly different. The homes in North America will be vastly different from Asia, I think mainly because of, in terms of the future, who will be living at home. We've seen the chart earlier where I think the older people who are living at home as a significant percentage. I think in Asia, it's more a nucleus home where multiple generations live together. And I think the need to modify it for aging in place is less compared to where you have more people living alone.
Okay. We have another question about smart homes. We have a smart home at our house, and it can sometimes be quite frustrating when you can't even turn the light on, or you have to walk in a room and something comes on and off. But anyway, the question here from one of our people watching is, smart home has become a popular phrase in recent years, but it seems that smart homes have still not really caught on to the extent that some people predicted. Are there any particular defining factors as to why this might be the case? And what can be done to really catalyze this movement of smart home?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the question I get asked a lot because the smart home concept has been asked since 10, 15 years ago. And I think it didn't really take off because people were saying that I don't need a camera to tell me how many eggs I have in the fridge. So there was no value towards having a smart home in the past. But right now with AI, with big data and whole habit and prediction, your homes are able to help you predict what you want before you even know you want it.
Okay. Have you got a smart home at home?
I do. I struggle to fit it up, but
I'm sure you
fortunately it works some of the time.
Okay. Well, Tim, thank you for sharing this information. We're in a wonderful industry helping people to improve their homes, and this presentation has been very, very interesting for all the people. So thank you very much, and wish you and Euromonitor continued success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting. Thank you.
Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to the next presentation, and the title is The Joy of CX. It sounds very erotic, but it's more inspiration, I would say. Why the customer, CX means customer experience, and why it is everything. Our speaker is Ken Hughes, known to many people who go to the Global Summit because he gave a brilliant presentation in Berlin. In fact, he got the highest mark score of any speaker in all the 10 presentations that 10 years of presentations that some of the biggest brands in the world of customer experience. Ken is an Irishman. So, Ken, we're looking forward to hear your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Hughes.
And now, the joy of sex. Why the customer experience is everything. Ken Hughes, customer and shopper behavioralist and customer experience strategist.
Hi there. Thank you, John, for that wonderful introduction. I really wanted the job of that guy's voiceover. Hi, my name is Ken Hughes. It's wonderful to meet you all again. If any of you have been following me on the webinar series here on the Global DIY Summit, it's great to have you back. Hope you've had a great summer. I'm going to jump straight into my content. I'm going to share a screen here for you, so I'm going to lean forward so you can all see my Botox. Hopefully you can all see that now on the screen in front of you. I'm going to talk about, your last speaker there just spoke about the relationship we have with home. I'm actually going to zero in on that word, relationship, and I'm going to talk about the customer experience today and what that really means for us to be able to build a better relationship with our customers, no matter who your customer is, whether you're B2B, B2C. So let's jump straight into the content. In the last kind of 2 years, let's say, the words on the screen have become really core to the way we do business, no matter who you are. Vulnerability in leadership, transparency in how we do business, authenticity in terms of how we connect with our customers, and then honesty, being honest. And so those values are really core to successful business, but they're also core, of course, to successful personal relationships. And that's what I'm going to talk you through today. So before we start, I'd like you all to think about a relationship in your personal life that's really important to you. Pick the most important person in your life. It could be your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mistress. I don't care. No judgment. It could be your kids, your parents. So think about a relationship that's really, really important to you and hold that relationship in your head all the way through this speech. Because I'm going to basically hero the way we use these skills in personal relationships and ask you to bring those skills into your business relationships. And that's how we're going to optimize our customer experience. So today is all going to be about relationship. It's all going to be about what makes a good relationship and how we can basically hero those skills inside our customer experience strategy. And it doesn't matter whether you are a trade, whether we're focused on an end consumer, a trade consumer, wholesaler, retailer, supplier. It doesn't really matter who you are in this industry. We all, of course, have customers, and we all have customers that we want to excite, we want to delight, and we want to build better relationships with. Now, there's an essential move that we need to make here from a transactional space where we view every customer as a profit center, where we view every customer as just one more piece of market share. We look at the graphs, we look at the Excel spreadsheet, and that's a very dangerous place, very 1980s, 1990s type of understanding. What we need to do is hero the relationship. We need to look at customer lifetime value. And you would hear that again and again and again. Customer lifetime value. That is so important because it puts us in a place of long-term investment with customers, not short-term. And that's where we need to get to. And so think about a relationship, think about your personal relationship that I asked you to think about. And imagine if you loved them and they didn't love you. If there was a 404 love error, love not found, how that unrequited love. And I'm sure we all have had that experience either as a teenager, in your 20s, even now, the feeling when you love someone and someone doesn't love you back. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. So remember that pain. And that's what happens if we don't get this right with our customers. They might try and love us. They might want to follow our brands, want to follow our stores. But if we don't show them the love that they deserve, this is what you get, unrequited love. So on the screen right now is the 10 things that are core for an essential healthy relationship. And we are going to spend the next 20 minutes going through each of those 10 things. I'm going to show you how some businesses all over the world have taken these and have made them their own and built better relationships with them. On this journey, by the way, and I'll ask you at the very end to take some notes, not only are you going to get fantastic advice for your business today, you are going to take some of this home with you and you're going to build better, healthier relationships in your own life, because this is basically the solution to a happier life also, not just from a business point of view. So let's jump straight into the first one there, love and commitment. It's so important, of course, in any healthy relationship to have love and commitment. Now, what does commitment mean? Now, imagine if you're trying to make this leap here. There's no half measures, is there? You have to give it everything to land on the other rock. And that's what commitment is. It's about having maximum effort in the action that you're doing. And my first question to you, by the way, if you haven't taken a pen up, I would advise you to do that. In virtual, we kind of tend to sit back and consume content. Do me a favor, pick up a pen and start writing some questions. And I want you to write some questions about your brand or where you are in customer experience, and ask yourself, do you make maximum effort with your customer? Because what you'll probably find is you're making some effort, but are you making maximum effort? And commitment, by the way, in terms of relationship is what if you say to someone, I'm committed to you, I'm committed to the relationship. What you're saying is I'm planning a future with you. This isn't just now, this isn't just a transaction. I'm planning a future with you. I want to be with you forever. And I don't think we approach customer experience the same way. We take each transaction, each day, each week, each month as a unit, but we don't necessarily show our customers that we want them forever. And we need to get into that space of commitment. What we do actually is we measure satisfaction. We measure our NPS scores and we think, oh, well, if our customers are satisfied, then they must want to be with us forever. And that is so not true. You're only as good as your last date, kind of thing, So we need to invest much more in commitment and actual, a relationship with our customers. And if you look at the words we use in business, they're fascinating. Customer acquisition, customer retention. If this was my Tinder dating profile, what I'd be saying is, I would like to bring you home and lock you in my dungeon in a cage. And I'm not too sure I'd get many dates. So, we use these aggressive terms. These aren't retention, trying to keep our customers. Why would you want to keep someone in a relationship, lock them in somehow? We need to actually look at this in a much more kind of friendly way. Actually, let me give you some example of what commitment means. Trader Joe's is a big grocery store in the US. I'm sure many of you know it. And Trader Joe's famously don't deliver. And even during the pandemic, they didn't deliver groceries. It's not part of their business model. But yet this lady rang up on a snowstormy day. Her granddad couldn't get delivery of food from anywhere. He had no food in the house, and she was ringing around hysterically trying to find someone that would deliver to her dad. The granddaughter was involved. She posted this on social media later. And what Trader Joe's did is they said, look, we don't deliver, but it was near Christmas time. And they said, give me your granddad's apartment number. And they packed up all his groceries. They drove them to him. Remember, this isn't part of their model. And they didn't even charge him. They gave him the food. And of course, this goes viral. And this is commitment, because you know what? He shops with us and we need to look after him in hard times. And so you need to be showing your consumer some element of commitment. So ask that. You ask yourself, what have you shown your customer? How have you shown that you're committed to the lifetime relationship right now? That's a big question. And it means you need to sit down and think, hang on, if we're not showing them, then why should they bother? How will they build brand loyalty and tribal brand following with us? How will we build customer lifetime value if we're not showing them commitment? So that's the first one. The second one is having a friendly relationship and time together. Let's face it, again, think about the personal relationship I asked you to think about. I hope you're obviously friendly and you spend as much time as you can together. That's what a relationship is. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And actually, today we see a lot of problems in relationships. People are there physically together, but mentally they're not together. They're on their phones. Imagine if you went on a date and your date was on their phone all the time. Or, working from home now is causing new pressures for relationships, personal relationships. And so, you think you don't feel their presence. You don't feel that they value the time together. That's an awful place, again, for personal relationship. And in fact, time is very important to us as consumers. I'm sure you've all been to a Disneyland or a Portaventura where you spent €100 extra or $100 to buy that fast pass. And that fast pass allows you to slip up the inside and not queue for an hour for the ride and get straight on the roller coaster. Or you've done that at the airport. Of course, we all have our loyalty cards. We all enjoy skipping that queue and getting on the plane first. And so we value time. We value time together. And in fact, think about the call center experience that we've all had. We've all picked up the phone. We've all been on hold for 10, 15 minutes. And you think, why aren't they just automatically asking me for my number and calling me back? Why am I sitting here wasting my time? And time is precious. I'll give you an example from my own life. Recently, my bank here went for two-factor authentication, all very popular at the moment. And they have this app which is supposed to identify your credit card. So I went online to do my credit card authentication. And guess what? Something went wrong, didn't work. And then I'm thinking, hang on, this is annoying. And so I called the call center, and the call center says, oh, actually, yeah, the app is a bit glitchy, keep trying. I said, what do you mean keep trying? And so I'll try it tomorrow, try it the next day, and we'll try it. When we talk about time together, let's focus on the together word there. Let's focus on the collaboration piece, how important the collaboration piece is. And so collaboratively, we live in a culture now that is a hugely collaborative generation, the Gen Z generation particularly, but also when else we like to collaborate. Your customer clearly likes to collaborate. They share everything. They share their opinions. They share their experiences. Everything is shared in their networks. And so we are a collaborative economy today. So gone, I think, are the days of what we call a passive consumer, a consumer that was at the end point of a customer journey. We now have an active consumer. And here's a really good example of collaboration socially in terms of anthropological cyber behaviorism. Look at TikTok. Look at the duets on TikTok.
To them. I don't need
Now, what happens when you do live TV? See, this is what happens. You just disappear into the ether. Bring on Copenhagen next year. It will be the equivalent. I'm thinking in the Copenhagen, it will be the equivalent of a trapdoor opening and your speaker just disappearing down into the stage, and everyone thinking, "Hey, where did he go?" Anyway, apologies for that. We have no idea what happened there. We lost the connection, or something happened on my side or your side. Who knows? But I'm back. See, I do love you. I came back. So listen, I have no idea what we lost there. I was chatting away to myself before the guys called. I was presenting away to nothing. But look, we'll pick it up. So look, I was just talking about intimacy. I started to talk about intimacy and how important intimacy is in relationship. And so usually when I talk about intimacy, people immediately think about physical intimacy, touching, kissing, sex, hand-holding, and I get that. But actually, emotional intimacy is what's way more important. Emotional intimacy, caring, being interested in each other's feelings, mental intimacy, having meaningful conversation and having shared values and interests, and then spiritual intimacy, shared beliefs. And so the bits that are in red there on the screen are the things that are most important, the things that are really important for us as business organizations to hear with our customers, the fact that we have shared beliefs and understanding. And so intimacy is ultimately a sense of closeness. That's what it is. It's a sense of fostering some sense of closeness with your end customer. And so this is really, really important for us to be able to think about, how can we become closer with our customers? And here's a very simple example. This is an example from United Airlines, where a guy called Kerry Drake was flying home to try and get to his mother's deathbed. Horrible moment. He had a connecting flight, and the first flight was late. So he was in tears on the plane, knowing he was going to miss his connection, knowing he was going to miss that moment that we all deserve to be with our parents if they pass. And the cabin crew noticed he was crying. And they said, "Wow, what's going on?" He told them the story, and they, of course, radioed ahead, and they kept that other connecting plane on the tarmac for another hour or half an hour to make sure that connection happened. Now, in aviation, it's a lot to keep the plane on the ground, always hundreds of people. But he really appreciated that, and he did make the journey, he did make the connection, he did make it before his mom passed away. And that's a intimate moment. That's a moment of shared understanding and empathy, and that's important in customer relationships. So ask yourself, how are you fostering a sense of closeness with your customer, whether it's a retail customer, whether you're a supplier or a wholesaler, it doesn't really matter. How are you fostering a sense of closeness? Because in that closeness will form a relationship. Now, number 4 is fidelity, trust, and honesty. And again, if you don't have trust, you don't have honesty in a relationship, you know yourself and your personal relationships, it is going nowhere. I'm going to show you a video. Hopefully the sound will come through okay. This is a guy called Todd Connors. This is about trust. This is a real video. It's not a mock-up. It's not a comedy. Have a look at this.
Todd Connor. I make the impossible possible, the uncomfortable comfortable, because I know perception is reality. Pow!
And it's interesting that trust comes up because earlier I asked several people to write down words that they fear or words that bring about fear in them on these cards, and the first one that came up was trust right there. This is from Laura. Laura? Come on over here, Laura. Big hand for Laura, everybody. I'm going to help you move through the fear to the power of trust, because you and I are going to have a relationship here tonight based in mutual trust. This is a technology I've developed called the Ultimate Trust Fall. Laura, what you're going to do, I'm going to ask you to take one step up there. The first step, signifying the first step towards reaching through the fear and getting to the power of trust. You're going to trust that I catch you. I'm going to trust that you fall. Laura, do you trust me? Okay, let's do this. Are you ready? Here we go. When I say let's do it. Okay, Laura, let's do it! All right there. I got your attention. You trust yourself. She's fine. She's fine. You put the power of trust in yourself because you want to trust only you. She's okay. She's all right. She's fine. I've done this before.
You guys, do me a favor. Okay. Do me a favor. If you guys would just step up.
It's a horrific moment, isn't it? So, we do that to our customers every day. We drop them. And we do it on purpose. Let me give you some examples. So let's take that dormant bank account. Bank accounts, banks all over the world have so many dormant accounts, and they're charging us interest on those accounts every single day or every single year, and they don't tell us. And we kind of forget about it. Should they not tell us? What about those mobile phone contracts that we all have that actually were on a package that maybe we're spending too much money? Or maybe our utility bills, or maybe our package could be lower. Maybe our insurance could be lower. We all have that moment every year where we reinsure our houses and our cars, and we have to ring around all the providers to try and drive the price down because we feel that they're just taking advantage of us. These are places where we don't trust the companies. Should they not be actually catching us as opposed to letting us fall? Let me give you a really simple example of trust. I was in Australia about 2 years ago doing a speech in Sydney, and I took a walk on Bondi Beach. It was a lovely cliff walk from Bondi Beach around to the next beach. And I got there and I was thirsty, it was sunny, and I went into this cafe. This is Jenny's Cafe. And I went in there to buy a smoothie, and she made the smoothie for me, of course. And then I went to pay with a card, and her card machine was broken. I had no cash. I was only in the city for a couple of days. I don't tend to carry cash in various countries. And she just gave me the smoothie and said, next time you're in passing, you can pay me. And I said, oh, sorry, I don't live here. I live on the other side of the world. And she said, you know what? Next time, we got into conversation with what I do for a living. And she said, next time you're back, you can pay me. And true enough, the next time I was back in Sydney, about 6 months later, I came in and I made sure I paid her. And every time I go to Sydney, I would always go back to Jenny's Cafe. Isn't that interesting? So people trust, if you trust people, they will reward you. So I think the question is, how are we being transparent? And this is particularly true for the sustainability agenda, which I know we're going to be talking about over the next today and tomorrow. How are we being transparent and building trust with our customers? Genuine trust, so important. Then we look at effective communication, number 5. This is really important to build good personal relationships with your loved one, but also, of course, in business, we have to be effective in communication. Unfortunately, this is how we have communicated to our customers for years. We've just taken a megaphone and we've just kind of shouted at them. It's all been about us. It's been about our product, our service, what we want, our brand plan, our retail plan, our stores. And this is a problem because we now live in a conversation economy. No customer wants to be shouted at. We want to have a conversation with. That's the way it works. And this has to be a philosophical change in how we do business. So here's an example of what it feels like when your communication isn't really responded to by a company. Have a listen to this.
Letters of English fighter pilot William McIntosh of the Royal Air Force to his wife, Lydia.
My dearest Lydia, ever since we crossed the Channel to France, I have seen nothing but death and destruction. Yet in this darkness, you provide light. Though I may be in hell, you are my perfect angel. Your husband, William.
Dear William, thank you. Love, Lydia.
And we've all had that moment where, the company doesn't respond the way you expect them to respond. And the communication isn't two-way. It doesn't feel good. I mean, here's a great example, and we see it all the time. This is someone reaching out to American Eagle on Twitter saying, look, I can't get in touch with customer service. Can you help me find my package? And the response is, oh, you should call our customer service team. I mean, that's that moment of what? It's just like so broken. So sometimes the automated systems don't work. Sometimes we don't even empathize with the customer, what they're going through. And this is where in personal relationships, you'll be taught to actively listen. Not just listen, actively listen. And there's a huge difference. Actively listening is not just hearing what the customer is saying, but it's really trying to empathize, trying to get inside their head, their shoes, and thinking, okay, what do they actually need? And the last time I did a speech with you guys, I talked about Brené Brown, who's a relationship guru, and she talks about connection being the essence of being seen, heard, and valued. That's what happens between two people. That's how connection is formed. And so you can ask yourself, are we, in our communications, really seeing our customer? Are we hearing them? Are we valuing them? And so here's a couple of really simple examples of handwritten notes. So Stripe, the CRM system, Amazon Fresh. These are handwritten notes to thank customers for their business, for their buying the product. And people always respond well to that because it's a personal moment. That's a nice communication. And so here's some really bad examples of when it goes horribly wrong, Here's Amtrak, California, communicating out to the world. Motivational quotes: do not follow where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail. And as a customer rightly picks up, not a great advice from a train company, is it? So you've got to be careful what you put out there as a brand. Here's a great one. I love this, from Virgin Trains. Just had a reasonably large poo on the train. There's no toilet paper. And then Virgin Trains say, oh my God, what carriage are you in? I'm in carriage J. No problem. We'll get some toilet paper to you. And, they ring the train. The Twitter people are in the train and they get some toilet paper. That's great. People love that kind of communication. So are you listening to your customer? Is it a two-way conversation? Because if it's not, you need to do something about that. Then number 6 is conflict resolution. I mean, in all relationships, there will be conflict, but it's how you resolve that conflict. This is a famous sculpture from Burning Man. So remember that even though the customer might be turning their back on you for now, you need to keep that connection somehow. Look at this person who tweets, should the shampoo I bought have turned my dog pink? And that's kind of funny, but it's not so funny when the same thing happens to an actual person through Lush Cosmetics. And so these are conflict points. What happens when your product doesn't deliver? What happens when the product's out of stock in the store and the customer's unhappy? What happens when your B2B customer isn't happy? How do you resolve that? How do you say sorry? And most corporates are really bad at that. Most people are trying to hide behind process and they don't really actually genuinely apologize. Or you can take conflict and make it funny. You can make it useful. I love this. Come in and try the worst coffee one woman ever had in her life on TripAdvisor. And you put that outside your coffee shop and people are naturally curious. They think it's funny and you probably increase your sales. So you can always leverage conflict to make it even better. But remember, conflict doesn't have to be really aggressive. Often we create conflict with process. We have a set process and that's our process and that's the issue. That's conflict. Have a look at this from Meet the Parents.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. We're only boarding rows 9 and above right now.
I'm in row 8.
Please step aside, sir.
It's just one row. Don't you think it's okay if I...
We'll call your row momentarily. Step aside, sir. Thank you for waiting. We'd like to continue boarding the aircraft now. We're now boarding all rows, please. All remaining rows. Hello. Enjoy your flight.
We do that every day. We do it every day through process. That's the face the customer makes, right? It's not a relationship. So think about, do you have the relationship's interests at heart in points of conflict? Make sure that you're not just looking after yourself, you're looking after the relationship when bad things happen. Number 7 is acts of kindness and support. So we're nearly there, working our way through the 10. So in our personal relationship, there's little moments that you make the dinner, you do the laundry, you make your loved one a cup of coffee, or in the office, you help someone with the paper jam, the printer. These are all little acts of service, acts of kindness. If you're a parent, you do this every day. I'm a dad taxi most of the time. You're always doing acts of service to show that you love your kids. And in business then, you find a restaurant like this that gives rugs to the people during the pandemic outside to keep them warm. It's a little act of service in the product consumption. Look at the Ritz-Carlton. The Ritz-Carlton's famous example. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's a very famous customer experience. This guy called Chris Hearns on vacation with his son. His son leaves his teddy in the hotel when they won't go home from their vacation. He, of course, is upset. So Chris reaches out to the hotel and says, look, I think we've left the teddy in the room. Can you get it? Please, can you send it back to us? They say, of course, sir, no problem. And then he tells his kid that the teddy is on vacation for an extra few days because he's only 4 or 5, this kid. And then the hotel starts sending the dad pictures on email of what the teddy's doing on his vacation. So here he is at the pool, Joshy, the giraffe at the pool. Here's Joshy the giraffe getting a massage. And then he was there for so long, they gave him a job as loss prevention officer, made him an ID. There he is looking at the CCTV. It's great, isn't it? So this is, again, an act of service to your customer. And by the way, the Ritz-Carlton, every single guest service employee has a $2,000 budget that they can spend any day, anytime, with any guest to make their guest experience better if there's a pain point. That is customer experience. Here's a few more. Look at this waitress who gave the firemen a free lunch because they had just fought a 12-hour fire, came in to eat in a restaurant. She had heard all about it. She paid for their bill for them. How about this guy in Wendy's who is helping this old man back to his car? He wasn't even a customer of Wendy's, but he left Wendy's when he saw what needed to happen. Or this last one, this little customer comes into Target to buy a clip-on tie for a job interview he has the next day. The Target employee says, sorry, we don't sell clip-on ties. But he spent the time to teach him how to tie a tie. And then he helped him with some interview skills. And this is all overheard by a customer who put it up on Facebook. These are moments of acts of service where we go beyond what customers expect. And then also there's gift giving, of course. And the giving of a gift isn't about the gift, of course. It's about the thought behind the gift. So Laura asked you, I bought some stuff recently and I got some free fluffy socks. Look at that. A little note saying, hey, here's some socks for you. There's a lady at Gaylord Convention Centre. She goes there every year, 3 years in a row, the same conference every year. And she loves the clock in her room that wakes her up with spa sounds. So she tweets the company and says, I've tried to buy this clock for 3 years in a row. I can never find it. And the company says, oh, look here's the link. She says, yeah, but that's not the one. The one that you have in the room plays lovely spa sounds. I've never found it. And she came back later after the conference to her room to find a little note that said, look, Here's a clock, take it home with you. And so those moments that you can find in any customer journey where you can give a gift or you can give an act of service, ask yourself, what have you done recently in this relationship that you think you have with your customer to show them you love them by an act of service or an act of gift giving? Number 8 is responsibility for your own life. And this is about purpose and why. So in relationships, we have a thing called codependency. It's toxic. It's not good, where one person's the giver, one person's the taker. If that continues, it's going to be resentment. That's not going to be a good space. And also, you often hear people saying, oh, my partner completes me. They make me happy. Dangerous. Complete yourself first, and then you can have a good interdependent relationship with someone, but not a codependent one. And so this is where you need to understand what is your why. Like as a business, what is your why? Why do you exist? And be strong about that. Look after yourself first. So Patagonia have this wonderful in business to save our home planet. I mean, they're an outdoor wear company, but they're in business to save our home planet. They know what they are about. JetBlue is to inspire humanity both in the air and on the ground. So they're all about inspiration. Facebook is about connecting with friends and the world around you. So in fact, I think this is quite weak. It could be a lot stronger. But the idea of what is your purpose? And the problem with not having a purpose is that the customer can very easily cut the string between you and them very, very quickly if they don't really have strong purpose and shared values. And this happens every day. This is why we lose market share and we lose sales. And if we don't have a strong relationship, it's very easy for them to cut that piece of the string. And also, it's not about what you can give in a relationship or what you can get in a relationship. It's about what you give. And you have to think about that change of mind in customer experience. What are we giving our customers in store? What are we giving customers in the product service? From a B2B point of view, what are we giving here, not just getting? So other than your product or service, what do you bring to the relationship? And they're big questions I'm asking today, because if you can't answer them, then actually you're still in a transactional space again. Second last one, personal space. Again, remember, during the pandemic, anyone who had animals, particularly cats, you all learned that cats have no boundaries. Cats do not give us any personal space. But of course, in human relationships, we have boundaries, we have limits, and we need our space sometimes. From a corporate point of view, back to communication, this is what happens to us every day. Corporates are trying to always talk to us, LinkedIn messages and emails and social media. It's creepy. It's creepy. Don't invade my personal space. I don't know how you feel every time you get a LinkedIn message and you open it to find it's not someone from your network. It's a sponsored ad, sponsored email. I'm sure you do the same thing I do. You delete. That's my personal space. Get out. And so we need to be careful that as we drift into the conversation economy, more and more businesses using WhatsApp. Now, WhatsApp is a very personal space. Do you have permission to come into my WhatsApp? I don't know. So think about this. Are you invading the space with your communication strategy? Very, very good watch out. And the last one I want to talk about is humor. What relationship wouldn't be fun without humor? Every single dating app or every single thing you always read must have good sense of humor. And so is in relationships too. Here's a great one. Like, I used to do mad at me. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Oh, I wonder what you are. Wish I could hit you with my car. Okay. You're still mad. So this idea of using humor in our relationships, our everyday relationships, is cool. And you can do it in so many ways. Here's a bakery product doing it with their packaging. Here's a train company doing it. If you can read this, you're not a train, get off the tracks. And so this idea of using humor, even in serious times, humor is fantastic. And look at consumers themselves. They use humor a lot. So this guy opens his pizza and says, hey, my pizza is just bread. There's nothing on it. And they say, oh, look, you treated the wrong account. Maybe you should treat Domino's in the UK, not the US. And then the consumer comes back and says, oh, no, hang on. I opened the box upside down. My pizza's upside down. It's funny. Consumers are funny. Or about this one who says, hey, thanks for my dinner at Taco. And Taco says, hey, great, what'd you get? Diarrhea. But it was worth it. So consumers themselves are funny. And therefore, brands need to have that tone as well. So here's, a guy tweeting in terms of the better glasses, in terms of his Valentine cards. Hey, where are my Valentine cards? Why aren't they come yet? And Royal Mail come back and say, well, it depends when your mom sent them, doesn't it? And so, brands can have quite a burn with customers sometimes. And here's this wonderful one from Tesco Mobile too. This guy kind of taking the piss out of Tesco Mobile and saying, well, nothing more turning off than a girl with a voicemail from Tesco Mobile, and Tesco Mobile come back and say, are you really in a position to be turning down girls? And so we can have a sense of humor on social media a lot with brands. And then brands even play with other brands. Here's Old Spice aiming one at Taco, saying, what isn't that fire sauce? Is it made from real fire? It seems like false advertising, which they tweet back. Yeah, it is your deodorant made with old spices. So you can have some fun. And it's really important to have some fun. And then sometimes you drop the ball as a corporate. Here's a very funny, you're not going to read all that, but there's a guy on New Zealand airline. He's been flying with New Zealand for years, and he kind of takes the moment to tweet quite a funny piece on social media about the crackers not fitting the cheese. And it's written quite funnily. And there the company has an opportunity to have some fun and to have a relationship. And it could go viral. Instead, they go back with, thank you for letting us know. We appreciate your feedback. We'll have a look. just completely the wrong tone, no actual communication. So if that was a personal relationship, you'd be the one making jokes and your partner's face is like, so, not fun, is it? Not great. So when did you make your customer laugh? That's really important. Even in a store visit, why is all retail experience so dull? Why don't we make them laugh in the store? Why don't we make them smile, engage? These are all really, really important things. So what I've done there is talked about all those things. What it comes down to is love is a verb. You have to show love. It's not a thing. You have to show love to actually build customer experience. So all those things, I'm not suggesting you do them all in your customer experience relationships, but I am suggesting that you take the time after this presentation to work your way down that list and to pick 2 or 3 things on that list to say, we could do that better in the way we deal with our customers. We could build better customer lifetime value by investing in those things. And if we keep doing that on a regular basis, if we keep picking one of those 10 things every month and just hero that in your relationship with your customer, be it in a store, be it online, be it with a B2B setting, it doesn't matter. You will increase customer lifetime value significantly. It doesn't matter whether you're an end consumer, trade consumer, wholesaler, or retailer. We are all customers. On that, I wouldn't like this to be a one-night stand. I want this to be a relationship. So while you're at your PC or your mobile there, go on to kenhughes.info/blog and do sign up to the newsletter if you liked the content today. If you're interested in the psychology of consumer behavior and shopper behavior, why not have a relationship with each other instead of just this one-night stand? And also my social media is there, Ken Hughes IE, and we can continue to love it anytime. Look at that dashing photograph of a young man on the screen on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, all the usual places. But for now, let's go back to John there in the studio. John, are you there?
Yes, we're all here, and thank you again, as always. A very interesting and a very entertaining presentation. Of course, I know we missed the audience a little bit, but they'll be there next year. But you finished on the word humor. Let me just give you an example of the customer experience. When the American company Walmart came over to Germany many years ago, they put on a person who greeted the people. Yeah. Now in America, you say, "Well, how are you today?" And you say, "Well, I'm fine." "Oh, well, have a lovely day." Yeah. And in Germany, they said, "Well, how are you today?" And they said, "What's it got to do with you? I don't know you." Yeah. Or the other thing, somebody from East Germany I read about, and he said, "I met an American, and he asked me how I was, and I was just going to tell him, and he walked away." Yeah. So there are cultural differences, of course. But anyway, let's get back to some serious questions now. We've got one question here. Is there a particular sector that you can highlight as an example for customer experience that's really made a difference, where you say this thing could always make a huge difference?
Yes, I think the hospitality of the airline industry is probably have it better. So, and this is where you use data with a bit of creative. So, we've all had this experience. Every one of us watching this we've all been a business traveler at some point on an airline, and at some point, the cabin crew have come down and they've put your wine down and they've said, "What would you like for dinner, John?" Yeah. Now, you know what's happened there. They've just been in the galley. They've just done a quick check on the business seats. They see who's where, and they use your first name. And so that's data at play, very simple data. And then they've implemented that data in a way that makes you feel special. And in that relationship, they've built in that moment, they built a relationship with you that wouldn't have happened if they said to you, "Here's your wine, sir." Just they've used your name. And so the hospitality industry and the airline industry, they do a lot of work with that to try and personalize the experience, try and make you feel welcome. And then when they don't do it, sometimes we've all had the same issue where we fly regularly with one airline, and yet you get on and you're treated like it's every other passenger. And you then start to feel, well, hang on, why aren't I being treated differently here? And so I think retail is quite poor at this. So retail, we do tend to treat everybody that crosses the door the same. And that's a huge mistake, because some people crossing that door are far more important to us than others. Similarly, as brands, some brands are more important to retail proposition than others. And so if you treat everybody the same, again, your wife, your husband, your lover, your kids are supposed to feel more special than everyone else in your life. That's why you're supposed to show that the relationship with that person is the one that's most important in your life. What we do to our customers is kind of cheat on them every day. And we think, well, you're not really that important to me, but I'd like your money, thanks. And that's really a horrible space. And I think in retail, we need to get a lot better at that. And we have all the data.
Yeah, I would agree, Ken. I think it's the most neglected part in retailing, that the way you treat the customers when they come in to really make them feel well. The thing that I liked about the Home Depot, it was a religion then, that if anybody asked an assistant where something was, it was a religion. You took them there. It's simple. Yeah. But if everybody created that, what a shopping experience. You need something, go there or when they see you. And I remember one person said, I don't put an overall on when I walk through the store. He was a store manager because he said the customers are always stopping me, for example. Yeah. So, right. We've got to hear quite an easy question, I think. Is the word of mouth between customers and professionals still of importance in DIY?
Say again? I missed the start of that question.
Is the word of mouth between customers and professionals still of importance in DIY?
Still, I mean, it's probably the most important thing today. I think the peer-to-peer conversations that are happening out there have more weight than actual marketing communications. Consumers are more interested in what other consumers are saying about us at any given time than what we're saying about ourselves. This is about the trust and transparency. Consumers no longer really trust what the corporate says or what the brand says. They trust what their peers are saying. And so what we need to do is create amazing customer experiences that will be shared in the peer network. And then that peer network does our marketing for us. So, I mean, all those examples I showed you there, they're all examples that I know because they're all on the internet. They're all talked about. They're all shared all the time. And now I'm sharing them with you, and they go on and on and on. And so those brands are brought to life in those stories. And that's what we need to do. We need to create experiences that create emotional impact, that get shared in the peer network, that brings the brand to life. So I would say word of mouth is extremely important, but it's not going to happen by accident. It will only happen if you give them a story to tell.
And show respect to everybody who comes in the store. Ken, always entertaining to listening to you, and I've enjoyed your webinars on the DIY platform. Thank you for coming again. I look forward to seeing you again live. Look forward to seeing you next year in Copenhagen. So thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome, John. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Well, we've now heard the presentations to the break. We're now going to have a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back with some very, very interesting sessions. So thank you very much and enjoy your break. Thank you.
So, herzlich willkommen in der Machbar Academy. Hier geht es um die ganz großen Themen: Bauen, selber machen.
Alles Machbar TV gibt es ab jetzt einmal im Monat. Hier dreht sich alles um unsere Marke, um Kommunikation, um Innovation. Alles, was für unsere Kundinnen und Kunden wichtig ist.
feeling like lately there is nothing in the way. Getting so impatient, need to get away now with you. With you. Are you out there dancing alone? Are you up on your own? Baby, I wanna know just how many days will go till I call you my own.
So, herzlich willkommen in der Machbar Academy. Hier geht es um die ganz großen Themen Bauen, selber machen.
Alles Machbar TV gibt es ab jetzt einmal im Monat. Hier dreht sich alles um unsere Marke, um Kommunikation, um Innovation. Alles, was für unsere Kundinnen und Kunden wichtig ist.
Well, welcome back again, and I hope you enjoyed the little break we had, and now ready for the next session. Going forward, I think partnership between suppliers and retailers in our industry has become more vitally important if we want to face the challenges facing us today and to win over them. So the next session is called Enabling Customers by Enabling Partnership. And we have two people, one from the retailing side, Sebastian Gundel, who is the Chief Customer Officer of Obi. Obi is the #1 company in Germany and is the 8th largest globally with 668 stores in 10 countries, with sales of about €7.5 billion. Sebastian Gundel is also responsible for the Store of the Future by Obi called Obi Next. And I've seen this store with some of the implementations, and I was very, very impressed. His partner today is from the industry, is from Wolfcraft, a medium-sized, very successful company serving our industry. Stefan Weigel is the Director of Marketing and also in charge of research and development. He's been 23 years at this most successful company. So let us hear now enabling customers by enabling partners. Thank you.
Hello, My name is Sebastian Gundel from Obi.
Hello, my name is Stefan Weigel from Wolfcraft.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here today. I'm delighted to talk to you about enabling our customers by enabling our collaboration. I'm convinced that in the future, which has long ago already started, collaboration, functional teams, specialized skills, customer data and technology are becoming a prerequisite to successfully generate new values for customers. I will share my insights today together with Mr. Weigel from Wolfcraft to bring in together the two perspectives, retailer and producer. The beauty of our industry is individualism, home conditions, taste, skills, life cycle moments are so different. We know that an average household in Germany addresses 30 different use cases per year. Since we also know that, unfortunately, they are not buying 30 times at Obi, we can see that there is still enough room for enabling them. Let's take a look at their journeys and corresponding pain points. All research is based on individual projects consumers have conducted. We find agony of choice, complexity of the planning procedure, calculation of the right quantities, or understanding the prices and price differences, the combination of single components or missing tools to facilitate. Let's take a look at some examples. 17.3% have problems in calculating the right amount of paint. Even 35% underestimate the effort of preparation. 14% lack the details in the planning procedure, and 12% find the care instructions still too imprecise. In these customer journeys, we can create value. We can create value by saving time, consulting with our expertise, or making the store journey more convenient. Average customer journey duration, 25 days. From inspiration to execution for bathroom renovation, 120 days. Share of in-store customers with consulting need, 40%. Average walking distance during Obi shopping, almost 1 kilometer. Obi has detailed insights regarding DIY use cases via a dedicated dashboard allowing for actionable implications. More than 100,000 customer use cases, more than 10,000 detailed journeys, and more than 1 million Google and OBDE keywords. We at Obi are spending a lot of resources and technology to understand our customers better by, for example, asking what they are using the product for, which they just bought, or visiting customers at their home to understand why it is looking as it looks like. This data and insight nugget we want to share to create better solutions. This is the beauty of our industry. We can create value beyond purchasing. And here, technology opens many new opportunities for different phases. Inspiration via pictures, content, ideas, or configurators. Information via how-to, expert, knowledge, calculators, and for sure in the execution. Let's take a look at the customer lifetime value, which will open plenty of opportunities to be a better partner for the 30 use cases we have experienced before. Let's move to the enabling solutions in a more concrete example and at the interface to suppliers and producers. In some specific areas, producers and suppliers can complement the experience and journey for our customers and solve their pain points. For example, by bringing in their competence, their project knowledge, their expertise, or content. Because here, we can jointly create value for our joint customers.
The awareness that retailers and manufacturers will be able to make the customer journey much smoother in the future through improved cooperation is not that old, and the structures for this still need to be developed. It is the common goal from Obi and Wolfcraft to lead the customers to a successful project result. Obi enables complete projects. Wolfcraft empowers the users even if they have only limited handicraft skills. We at Wolfcraft see it as our task to make the difficult parts of a project manageable by providing clever helpers. Once the pain points are detected and specified by marketing, our innovative R&D department is capable to create solutions. By the way, simple projects that can be done easily with simple tools and without any skills are quite boring for us. To achieve this, we need to know the pain points. We therefore conduct our own market research, starting from workshops with focus groups through to eye tracking and even encephalography with measuring the brain waves. As starting point, OBI's input is very helpful. It is our common goal to detect customer frustration and eliminate the causes with clever products and services. When laying floors, for example, the exact measuring and cutting of skirting boards represents a major problem for the project DIYer. With our bevel and miter box, DIYers can easily measure the angle on the wall and thus gets the right cut in just one simple step. However, the OBI figures are also showing that many consumers have problems with the necessary tool selection. Our consumer analysis showed that the project is typically segmented into 4 sub-steps: cutting, laying, fitting and skirting. We have developed 4 success kits for each of the project steps, which are also very well received in the market. Choosing the right tool and making a purchase has never been easier, especially in the case of design floors. For the product selection and purchase, still the analog market is important. There, the consumer is helped by our activity centers, which make the project comprehensible, show solutions for the individual work steps, and significantly simplify the purchase. With the printed installation instructions at the display, as well as the links to the internet guides, we also give the users orientation. The tools, directly placed close to the material, reduces inhibitions and strengthens confidence to the user's own ability. But even when the final selection is preferably made in the local store, the customer journey most likely begins online. After a first entry in the search field, the consumer receives suggestions for corresponding designs. Our analyses show that consumers usually start the project with the visual appearance of the floor material. If they scroll down, they dive further into the project world and are offered help on how to carry out the project. Many consumers dare to do more and more complex jobs without any skills. Nowadays, it doesn't matter whether it's repairing a mobile phone, bicycle maintenance, or home improvement projects. Therefore, a video tutorial shows the course of the project and so takes away the fear even for the less experienced do-it-yourselfer. A pre-selection of tagged products makes it easier to get an overview of the tools needed. Step-by-step instructions with informative application pictures help the consumer to discover the necessary project steps for himself at his desired speed. Once confidence in the own capabilities has been established, the jump into the wider Wolfcraft project world is of course also attractive. Another project that many have to master is relocation. According to the OBI Next research, 6 million customers in Germany move every year and go to the DIY store on an average of 16 times. Those who offer solutions for relocation can also be confident that there are takeaways in many other classic areas of a DIY store. Here Wolfcraft has versatile trolleys, for example. An additional carrying handle offers a perfect solution for transporting heavy objects to the upper floors, which is, according to research, one of the main problems. At the POS, this solution can be borrowed free of charge when purchasing one of the versatile Wolfcraft hand trucks. Hardly any other project is planned as carefully in advance as a relocation. That's why many people start an extensive online research long before the moving date. Those providers who offer real support and good content will attract traffic to their websites. The Wolfcraft project page of the OBI website offers various planning aids with search engine optimized content. A selection of helpful articles that can make the hard work easier is also of great interest, especially because many innovative products are still unknown to the consumer and he would not actively search for them. Strong brands that create confidence in this context are important for consumers. In particular, brands that make consumers feel that their skills and problems are being taken care of and that indicate to them that they can master projects with their support. OBI and Wolfcraft are such brands. OBI, as an enabler, does a very good job with its consumer approach and its complete offering. Some people know Wolfcraft as the top supplier of certain types of tools, but the brand is much more known for offering clever project solutions to all kinds of problems. So that more and more successful DIYers say, according to our sub-slogan, it works. Therefore, the profiles of OBI and Wolfcraft fit very well together, and we are happy to present our brand in such a matching environment, no matter if it is on or offline.
We at OBI strongly believe in this new way of partnership to create values for our customer and therefore relevance for us and the producers. OBI has the customer access and can provide you tailored solutions. Ensure your brand experience in a truly DIY environment. Bring in your expert and consulting competence for customers and employees alike. Enlarge your digital reach and visibility. Get high customer qualified data and insight access to make your decisions more powerful. Collaborate on B2C logistics to improve customer experience. And last but not least, in order to activate customers to increase sales. Alles machbar. It's not just a claim, it's a promise. We create win-win-win situations for OBI, for our partners, and most important, for our customers. Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Sebastian Gundel from OBI and Stefan Weigel from Wolfcraft. It is so nice, heartwarming to see the industry, the retailers and the suppliers working together for the benefit of the consumer, and may this intensify in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to the last presentation, and this is the keynote presentation on an issue that is so vital for humanity and for all our future generations. It is called Saving the World, Climate Change, Getting to Net Zero in a Changing World. It is a great honor for me and a pleasure to introduce the two most distinguished guest speakers today. The first one, the retailer, is Thierry Garnier, the CEO of Kingfisher, which is the #1 company in the United Kingdom and the #4 company in the world. It has 1,380 stores in 8 European countries. It operates under 5 banners. It operates under B&Q, Castorama, Brico Dépôt, Screwfix, TradePoint, and is also participates in the stores in Turkey of Costas. The sales of Kingfisher per year are 14 billion euro. So, as you can see, a very, very large company indeed. And it is one, for me, over many years, one of the leading companies on sustainable issues. It is one of the very few retailers, companies in the world, to establish the 1.5-degree aligned carbon reduction target approved by the Science Based Target Initiative, the Paris Agreement. I've been particularly impressed with Kingfisher by their website and their business strategy, the responsible business strategy covering 4 points, 4 areas: colleagues, the planet, customers, and community. And today, it is the planet. Accompanying Thierry Garnier today is Andrew Griffiths, who is a member of the UK Parliament for Arundel and South Down. He himself has been a very successful businessman. In 2008, when he was with Sky, he was the youngest finance director in the FTSE 100 companies. And he's now been appointed by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to be the net zero business champion, which is to support the UK business community to plan net zero carbon emissions by 2050. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in for a very interesting session now, getting to net zero in a changing retail world. May I now introduce Thierry Garnier and Andrew Griffiths. Thank you.
And now, getting to net zero in a changing retail world with Thierry Garnier, CEO Kingfisher, and Andrew Griffith, Member of Parliament, appointed by the Prime Minister as the UK's net zero business champion.
Thank you very much, John. And it's really a pleasure for me and for Andrew to be with all of you today and to join you for this DIY Summit. I think, as John, you said, and probably you are, and we are all together discussing that during this summit, many things are changing around the world. And for us, as a DIY retailer, we know very well the past months has seen tremendous changes and throughout the product, but as well the way we sell our product. But today we want to discuss another change, and that is a very important one for all of us, that is climate change. I will not comment even what happened across the summer with many dramatic weather events across the globe, in the US, in China, but closer to us in Northern Europe, and as well the fires we saw in Southern Europe. And therefore, I think no need to spend too much time to say how it is important for all of us to react and to help. And I truly believe as a retailer that in this journey we are privileged. We have 1,000 of colleagues. We have action and interaction partnership with our suppliers. And moreover, we are selling so many products to our customer, and therefore we can help and we can act on customer homes. So that's why I truly believe that we can help, and we are, as a retailer, really privileged in this journey. At the same time, I'm the CEO of a retail company, and if I were in your shoes across these screens, I would not necessarily like to hear one of my peers preaching at me about this topic and explaining how we are great and how we are doing great things. So I truly do believe that every one of us, we are learning, we are progressing, and I think it's just great to share good ideas and good practices. We are at different stages. Recently, with John and the board of FEDRA, we have considered already, especially a few months before the COP26, that this topic was very important, and we have decided to create additional task force and workforce just to share good practices between us. And we have discovered that outside Europe, as well, many companies are doing fantastic things, and it's really great to be able to learn those good practices among us. So what I would like to do now is just to share a few of the actions, very concrete things that we are doing at Kingfisher, so across Europe. And we have committed a few months ago on Planet on on three things. First, we are committed to source 100% of our wood and paper responsibly. That's for our product, but as well for our catalogs. The second commitment we made is to become forest positive by 2025. We'll come back to that, but not only by sourcing, but by supporting reforestation programs. And the third commitment around climate is to achieve an approved 1.5 degree science-based carbon reduction target by 2025 as a next step on our journey to get to net zero. You know that this 1.5 degree is a target that was set out in the Paris Climate Agreement, and it is what the world needs to aim to minimize the greatest consequences of climate change. We really believe that having approved science-based targets, it's really the gold standard. It shows you have robust plans in the near term to cut your carbon footprint, not only by 2050, but really in the coming 5 years. Could come back to that. And that's really what matters now. So for those that are not fully aware of what we call Science-Based Targets Initiative, it's really about having concrete and short-term targets for our own operation, being in stores, our supply chain, or the way we are selling product. And here I would like to detail 4 key areas for us. The first is around timber. Like many of you, like all the home improvement retailer, we all buy a lot of wood and paper. For us, it represents about a quarter of the product we sell, from kitchen cabinets and shades to paintbrush handles or sandpaper. So clearly, this is the biggest natural resource that we use in DIY. For Kingfisher, very early, probably 30 years ago, we have worked to source wood and paper in a sustainable way. Currently, we did not reach yet 100%. To be very concrete, 81% today of our wood and paper in our products is responsibly sourced. And we have reached 100% for our catalog paper. So you can see we are not yet at 100%, and we have still progress to do. And it turns out it's not easy to do it across all our entire business, across all our different countries. But that doesn't mean we are stopping. So we are redoubling our efforts to be able to reach 100% sustainably sourced wood and paper by 2025. Second topic I would like to mention is forest positive. We have chosen to go further, and we are now partnering with the Rainforest Alliance as a founding member of its new Forest Allies initiative to support reforestation projects in some of the countries at most risk of deforestation. Now moving to climate, over the past 4 years, we have cut our operational carbon emission by 27%. And here we have very pragmatically invested and focused on four areas. The first is how we buy energy. So we are really moving the way we are, buying energy to 100% gradually low carbon or renewable energy. Today, for B&Q, Screwfix, for our operation in Spain and Portugal, we are already purchasing 100% of renewable energy. In France, we know that this country has a very low carbon energy, so we are as well at 100% at this level of low level carbon energy in France. Second topic is how we operate our stores, and here is about energy efficiency. We have heavily invested the past years, and we continue to do so in LED lighting. Now 91% of all our stores in the world are managed with LED lighting. We are as well introducing more building management system to better manage energy demand in the UK, in France, in Poland. And each year, those investments in renewable and in the way we are managing energy is generating 7.5 million kilowatt per hour and delivering 1.3 million pounds in financial benefits. The third area for us is logistics and transport. Today, we believe that fully electric heavy goods vehicles are not yet sufficiently developed to meet all our operational needs. And therefore, we are working very hard on what we call LNG, liquefied natural gas, as an alternative to fuel. And we see it can reduce really materially CO2 emission by about 20%. And B&Q, for example, has already established over 50 trucks across the UK. And we are planning to buy additionally 50 more trucks in the coming months. At Screwfix, for example, we have been working hard to reduce the road miles to try to combine more product together and therefore to limit the number of CO2 we are, let's say, creating through our fleet at Screwfix. The last area I would like to mention is directly the product we are selling and how we can help our customers, especially around energy saving. You probably know if you are in Europe that especially in the UK and in France, 2/3 of homes were built before 1980, and therefore all our survey shows that 75% of the building stock in those countries is considered as still energy inefficient. So therefore, we are in a good position to provide more energy efficiency categories to help our customer in categories like loft insulation, LED lighting, underfloor heating, the way we are heating our rooms and electric radiators. And we are as well working hard on new solutions like ground source heat pumps and solar. So just wanted to share with you those concrete plans. I think it's very critical in my view that we start to act now. Sometimes we are committing on the net zero by 2050, but it's extremely critical to act by 2025. That's why we do believe relying on science-based initiative by 2025 is the key thing to do. Now I stop here for Kingfisher because we'd like to hand it over to Andrew. I think all of us, and personally me, I'm very happy that Andrew is taking the time to be with us with probably an extremely busy agenda between its job as MP and the job for the UK government. Because obviously as business, we can do many things, but it's very critical that all together, as well with all the governments of the world, we set the direction, and especially a few months ahead of the COP26. So Andrew, thank you again very much to be with us, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Thierry, and thank you, John, and all of you for inviting me at this all-important DIY summit, a fantastic industry that is literally in the heart of consumers' homes across the world. So thank you for everything that you do in terms of generating prosperity, helping people live their best lives, and all of the contribution that you make to society. It's a real pleasure to be here. Now, as you've both said, we have 8 weeks to go until the Global Climate Summit, when the whole world's leadership will come to the United Kingdom to debate, discuss, but hopefully also to pledge and to make the difference that we need on climate. It's my great privilege to work with the business community because you are absolutely at the heart of this challenge. And while global leaders have a role to play in setting the tone and direction, we all know that it is the fantastic problem-solving capacity of business that will actually make a difference to the day-to-day actions that will see things reduce. So many of the G7 nations have already set themselves ambitious climate goals. Many of the largest companies in the world, some included here today, such as Thierry's, have already signed up to something called the United Nations Race to Zero campaign.
And that's all about science-based targets that will get us to the 1.5 degrees that we think that the world can tolerate. So I would encourage all of you to set that target, to take that goal and treat it like another business problem.
I lost him. Hello? Yeah. 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 Perfect. So just a few more words on my side. I think Andrew will be with us in a minute. It seems, Andrew, you are back. So we lost
I'm
you.
so sorry. I suddenly saw a frozen picture. My apologies. My point is how central business is to this agenda, but also how many opportunities there are for us. So it starts with setting a target to reach the point of net zero, to sign up to a global initiative such as the United Nations Race to Zero, and then taking that down through your supply chain in order to deliver that target. So it's a business problem like every other. The opportunity is great because we know that consumers care deeply about this, as well as that your staff and increasingly your shareholders or your providers of capital. Given we have clearly some difficulties with the technology, I'll leave it there and we can continue to do questions. But it's a very important agenda, and it's fantastic that this DIY Summit is engaging in sustainability here today. Thierry, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. It's really very important to hear those words, and for all of us, it's critical. So, happy, John, if you are on the line, to hear any question from the room.
I'm very pleased you're back, Andrew, so sorry about the technical problems, but I suppose these things happen. It was so very encouraging, Thierry, to hear what Kingfisher are doing. And you, like many of the companies in our industry, are really doing an awful lot. We did a survey on behalf of the EDRA board, which you'll remember, to see what people are doing. We've brought the community together, and we are really making this a major issue for our association on climate change. We're planning webinars where the big people come together, the smaller companies, where they can learn from each other. But be rest assured, we're putting a lot of dedication and passion into this because we see it as being a very serious problem. It's a pity that my generation did not really take it quite as seriously as the younger generation, but I think that's the hope. So before we pass the questions on to the general public, Thierry, I'd like to ask you, what would be your advice to companies what they should do first in this climate change?
Yeah, John, thank you. It's a topic very close to my heart. So again, I think it's critical to act now for the coming 5 years. You know, and again, to be very direct, sometimes we are speaking about net zero by 2050, and we are sometimes waiting for governments or waiting for new technology, and at the end, we are not doing much. I think it's very critical to look what companies can do between now and, let's say, 2025, or is the coming 5 years, and to have concrete decision made. You know, for example, we were doing last year very good progress, but we consider we were not yet on track to reach the 1.5 degrees. And we have run programs, we have run task force. We committed for about £10 million additional capex per year for the coming 5 years. And we are now relatively confident that we can reach the 1.5 degree by 2025. So I think it's critical, rather than to think about net zero by 2040, by 2050, to decide now concrete things. Again, that's the way we buy energy across our countries. Do we move to coal, to renewable energy? The way we are buying the new trucks, the way we are managing energy in our stores, etc. That's very concrete. And for me, it's very important that everyone look at those topics in the very short term, rather than just to establish plan in the longer term that sometimes relying on new technology or on government decisions. So that's for me very, very critical. And if there is one key point to keep after that, that would be this one.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, anything to add
I don't know if Andrew, you want to, please again, feel free to comment on your side.
I think the first thing is to tell your employees that it's important to you, because we're all organizations that benefit from the wisdom and knowledge of our employees. So you get alignment, even if you don't have all of the answers. And the first step is often the most difficult to make. So first thing I would do is say, this is important to me as a leader and to our organization and its customers. And therefore, we're all going to go on this journey together. And second, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You know, you don't have to know exactly what your carbon footprint is to know roughly that it's your energy usage, it's your transport footprint, and it's your supply chain. So the earlier you start, there's always time to shade in the detail later, but it's definitely worth starting with a simple first step.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And a question for you now, Andrew. Is there anything you would like to say to companies that they are the belief that there are bigger challenges on the horizon than climate change?
Now, this is a revolution. And I use the example of the digital transition that Thierry and I are old enough to remember, you know, the last 30 years as we've gone from an analog world to a digital world. And I don't think there's an organization, certainly not a successful one today, that doesn't have digital in some way at the heart of its business. And I think we're rapidly going to move to a world where sustainability is like digital. It affects procurement and finance and employees and every aspect of business life. So if that change is coming, if that's one of the big mega trends amongst consumers and business, then engage with that as early as you can, because you'll find that those who move early can win market share, can grow their business faster, and in many cases will be able to reduce their costs. Because I like talking about the opportunity side of this, but clearly there are threats. There are threats to supply chain, there are threats to adaptability, and there's inevitably the cost if you don't adapt early.
Do you think, if I question to both of you, do you think there's going to be an explosion of awareness about this problem as it increases? Has it reached its peak, or is it only at the beginning or in the middle? In people's awareness, how would you feel about it?
Andrea, maybe I can start. I think, you know, when we run an extensive customer survey, you know, and by country, by age, and very often people don't call it, you know, sustainability, but they express it in many ways. You know, it's how we are a bit scared about what's going on around the weather or the way we buy product, you know, in our industry. Do you want to buy a toxic paint to paint the room of your kids or your baby? Obviously, you don't want. So you don't call it necessarily climate or sustainability, but all the survey we are doing showing that this topic, it's really becoming critical in our customers' mind.
And I think the same is true, John, for citizens. This now regularly becomes in the top 3 issues, even during a pandemic. Actually, the pandemic in many ways has made people feel more connected with their environment, not less. So although they've had difficult times, they've also understood how connected they are to their environment. So I agree with Thierry, there's education to happen. So people are concerned and they are aware. The next step is they will educate themselves, and that will affect their consumption decisions.
Yes. I'd like to share my experience with you there, because only 20 kilometers from where I live, a whole village was destroyed by the floods. We've seen the terrible floods around the world. We've seen what's happening in New York. We've seen the fires in California. That in the last year, and certainly we spoke about this on the EDRA board, climate change is really in my mind. And the more I look into it, the more I'm inspired, the more I'm motivated, the more I'm aware. So I think what you said is right. We mustn't look for perfection, Andrew, as you mentioned, but everybody should get involved. And I think it's every person, every company, every country, all of us must do all we can to climate change. And we will certainly follow this up in the future. Is there anything else? Yeah.
If I can make one more point, John,
yeah.
It's also that we can do this.
Yeah.
So every technology, every type of material, every type of business process to solve this issue is already existed. It just needs to scale and to be adopted. But in your world, there are new materials, there are new chemical compounds, there's new brilliant ways of sourcing renewable energy, of coming up with power tools and generators. So the technology exists to do this.
Mm-hmm. But when you hear Thierry saying net zero by 2025, the younger people are saying, why are we waiting till 2050? Why can't it be 2040? For example. Do you think, will it take that long?
Maybe just to echo, I think what Andrew said around perfection versus starting, and I think it's as well a topic very close to my heart during those uncertain time. We cannot, like probably 20 years ago, plan, organize with time 100% of the programs. We have to start with a 70-30 now. And even though it's very ambitious, there are many very concrete things we can do in the short term. That's why to say we have to start with the first step. It's probably the perfect one, but we have to start and to do the 70-30. And after 3-4 years, to add up additional programs. That's a critical message in my view. We have to start now with simple and pragmatic programs rather than waiting for new ideas, new technologies in a few years' time. So I think it's indeed achievable.
Well, it's been really very, very encouraging and very nice to listen to you both talking about and your dedication to the climate change. I think the message is getting more and more over, and I think this keynote presentation has really cemented it. The only thing I regret is, Andrew, that it's 2050 when you're going to be finished, and I may not be around by that time, but I'll be watching it from somewhere else maybe. But anyway, I wish you very much success, and I hope all the home improvement companies and the suppliers around the world will take examples from this meeting today, and certainly the retailers really looking what Kingfisher and other larger companies are doing for climate change and sustainability. And I think if we all pull together, we're going to find a more sustainable and a better world to live in, and certainly for the younger generations. So, Thierry, thank you very much indeed. Andrew, it's very nice. First time I've ever spoke to a member of Parliament, so it's very nice, and thank you for joining us. And I wish you much success as business champion for the United Kingdom for net zero. So thank you very much indeed, and I wish you a very good day, and thank you for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, that concludes the sessions for today. I certainly have enjoyed the moderation, certainly learned something, very inspired by the different aspects of the business that we've heard about, and particularly the last one on climate change. So I do hope you've all enjoyed these sessions. We're starting again tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Eastern Time, because we know it's very, very early. I know in New Zealand and Australia, you're now going to go to bed, and people in America and South America, you're just starting the day. But anyway, we've had, I think, a record attendance for a virtual summit, what I've been told, and a lot of people will be streaming it. Don't forget all these presentations. You can see they're going to be recorded, so you can see after the event and follow anything that you may have missed or you may want to see again. So from me, on behalf of all the team here in the studios in Cologne, it's been a very great pleasure moderating this session today. But I must say, I'm looking forward to getting back to the real thing. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a great afternoon and look forward to seeing you in the morning. Thank you and goodbye.
Got so tired of waiting, got tired of the chase. I've been feeling like lately there's nothing in the way. Getting so impatient, need to get away now with you. With you. Are you out there dancing alone? Are you up on your own? Baby, I wanna know just how many days will go till I call you my own. You look good in the sunshine, you look good in the rain, and I know once that you're mine, we'll have nothing to change. Getting so impatient, need to get away now with you. With you. Are you out there dancing alone? Are you up on your own? Baby, I wanna know just how many days will go till I call you my own. Are you out there dancing alone? Are you up on your own? Baby, I wanna know just how many days will go till I call you my own.
Time is a little by little, day by day, I'm caught in the middle of a spinning wheel where all I feel is the ice getting thinner. Step by step, day by day, I'm fighting a winner. Pushed around, I'm nowhere bound, no solid ground. How can I get back? How can I be strong? All I do comes out old. I wanna be a saint, but I ain't. I'm far from. I wanna be brave,
bangs in my hair and braids around my waist. I'm almost a bird. These mountain views and pink sunsets got me shitting skin. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. We all strive to be more. We all long for viva la vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya, a bit lighter and freer. I'm so happy to see ya. And the air fills up my lungs and it tickles. Oh, what a joyful feeling. I think I'm gonna stay here under all these rays and soak up the sun. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. We long for viva la vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya, a bit lighter and freer. I'm so happy to see